All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House, where I talk to comedians about their I Guess I'll Do It moment where they decided to do stand-up comedy. Today, I have a good buddy of mine. We have done like 50 or 60 shows this year together. Today, I have Brad Williams. What's up, buddy?
So that's why it's called I Guess I'll Do It.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your I Guess I'll Do It moment where you say to yourself, I guess I'll do stand-up. That's it.
I thought the title I Guess I'll Do It is because you badger podcast guests until they finally utter the phrase, I guess I'll do it.
That hasn't happened yet, but some people have been close. And some people, like the second dose, some people are about to get their second text or email from me.
Hey, man, I completely understand. And for me, it's more like happy to do it because, like you said, we did a bunch of weeks together. We did like 5 or 6 weeks together, and doing all the Helium shows and the Stress Factory, and I feel like we really got to know each other. All right,
true.
Hang out. We got to share some hopes and dreams and thoughts and some insecurities, and I got to get maybe some minor food poisoning with you and your lady friend.
That is true. You did not feel well after, I won't say the name of the restaurant, but in Buffalo, you had a rough afternoon.
Yeah, they had some...
or night. I think you told me the next day you told me about that.
Yeah, I had a rough night after some wings and some roast beef on whack.
Yep. Beef on whack.
Is a kind of bread, apparently. Whack is Dutch for fucking rock, and so you have a roast. So you have roast beef on rock, and I had a rough night, but overall good. And it's been great, and it's been great to do shows with you, my man.
Thanks, man.
You recorded an album. I don't know if we're allowed to say that.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, and I think it's going to go really well, and I'm really honored that you got to do that, and that I was on those shows. So it was
thanks,
great.
Man. Dude. It's been a fun run, man. You and I probably have done 6 or 7 or 8 weeks together in the past 2.5 months, and most of those shows have been good. I mean, I could probably pinpoint 2 or 3 crowds in particular I did not care for, but most of the shows, I'm going to go with 95%, have been good.
Why you got to talk about the 4 o'clock Indianapolis people like that?
No, 4 o'clock. No, 4 o'clock in Indy. They were hammered.
They were.
That was their first day of spring. It was super nice that day, and everybody everywhere was drinking outside. So like, I get it, because I remember I was on stage at 5 o'clock, and I said to them, "You guys are fucking hammered."
And they cheered, and they're like, "You bet your sweet ass we are."
And it was
5 o'clock on a spring day in Indianapolis. What do you expect us to be?
So, but the the 7:30 and the 9:30 or 10 o'clock show were not nearly as drunk as that 4:30 show.
Which is really interesting as to why that is.
I know, because they had longer to drink outside. Yeah.
And they just, I guess the 4 o'clock show just went, you know what? We're going hard. We're going hard to get ready for the shows tonight. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Dude, it was a lot of fun. Now, you and I, so we did a bunch of shows together this year, but you and I met at Helium in Philly 12 years ago during a blizzard. Do you remember that week?
Of course I remember that week. I remember that week for many reasons. One, it was, like you say, it was the blizzard.
It was a blizzard. It was February of, 08 or 09.
I can find out the year because of a certain event that happened. I'm looking up on my phone while I'm going to continue to talk.
I think I know what event you're talking about.
Yep. The Super Bowl against the Colts, or with the Colts against the Saints. And
nope, not what I was going for at all. Thinking of something totally different.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you thinking about?
Mary Carey.
Oh yeah, that too. It was 2010.
2010. Okay, so 11 years ago we met at Philly.
Yeah, February 4th through the 6th, 2010. And there was a monster blizzard there in Philly. And Philadelphia people, I'll give them credit. They oftentimes will come out in very shitty weather. They still come out. They still see the shows. Now, this was when I was headlining 11 years ago, so I didn't exactly have the popularity that I have now. So maybe people had some Brad Williams tickets, saw Blizzard, and went, no, that guy's not worth it, which I totally understand and even now agree with. So I think on like our Saturday early show, which is always the show, it's like cool. I can always count on Saturday early show. It'll be sold out. Yep. I think Saturday early show maybe had like 35 people, maybe. And that's generous. So yeah, it was a monster blizzard. We didn't get very good crowds. I mean, the crowds that did come out were awesome.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, they weren't the biggest crowds, but the people that were there, I remember it was small but mighty. The people that were there wanted to be there, and they were still great crowds, even though it was, it was a blizzard.
They reflected their headliner, small but mighty. And the reason why I knew it was the Colts Saints Super Bowl is because I got my flights were canceled and I had to stay in Philadelphia. And that weekend was also the weekend that I met one of my good friends, Gino of Gino Steaks.
Gino Vento. Yep.
Gino Vento. And we had just met on like that Thursday, and I was texting with him and I was like, yeah, I'm stuck in Philly with this blizzard. He goes, oh, why don't you just come over to my house and we'll watch the Super Bowl? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So go over to Gino's house, hang out with him and his parents when his parents were both still alive, and watch the Super Bowl with Gino of Gino Steaks. It was a very memorable weekend, and it was really fun. I'm still friends with Gino to this day.
Yeah, we saw him 3 weeks ago. He came to the Saturday shows at the Stress Factory in Jersey,
and I stopped talking to you for like 10 years. So that shows you what kind of impression you made.
Absolutely. Me. But then we reconvened hard 11 years later.
Absolutely. And like an absentee father, like a deadbeat dad, I feel like we're making up for lost time.
Absolutely. And we have some car rides coming this summer. So we'll
we absolutely do. We'll plug those. And just so people don't get a weird idea, I'll follow up with your Mary Carey story.
By all means. Yeah.
Mary Carey came out to see one of those shows. Yes. Former porn star, former gubernatorial candidate.
Correct. Gubernatorial. Yep.
Former reality show star. Yeah. Mary Carey. She came out to see one of the shows and had a great time. And then because dancers are also performers, she invited us to go see her show. So I'm like, you know what? You saw my show, Turnabout's Fair Play. Let's do a home and home, and I'll go see your show.
Yeah, we went over.
I may have had more fun at her show than she had at my show. It was a good time.
Dude, I remember two things about that night. Actually, no, I remember a lot more than that. But we all had work that night. She came to our show, then we went to hers. Yep. And I didn't know she was in the crowd, and I did a joke about porn. I had no idea she was there. And then she laughed super hard and then brought that joke up to me and was like, oh, that was really funny. Now, looking back, I couldn't even tell you the joke, but I remember us having that moment, which was
yeah. And it's always that weird thing as comics where it's like, yeah, we want everyone to have a good time and everyone to laugh. And obviously we're going to make jokes about certain groups or people
lifestyles,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to be like, let me tell you about Caitlyn Jenner. And then Caitlyn Jenner stands up in your audience and you're like, okay, here we go. All right. It is interesting to note when that person or that person's lifestyle is with your joke.
When it very specifically can get close to home.
Sure.
Who's one of the weirdest faces you've seen in the crowd?
Oh man.
Where you look out and you can see, you're like, holy shit, they're right there.
This was a weird one. There's, because you do shows everywhere, or like I do shows mostly in LA, and when everything was happening, yeah, you always would get celebrities at the Laugh Factory and the Comedy Store and wherever. I'll give you a weird one that didn't affect the show at all.
Okay.
And then I'll give you one that affected the show, but in a positive way, and like it is one of my cooler memories in comedy. So here's one that didn't affect the show at all. It was like 2 weeks after a lot of the Me Too stuff happened. Mm-hmm. And in the audience of the Comedy Store, in the very back of the room, wearing a beanie and a big jacket, even though it was hot out, Kevin Spacey.
Okay.
And we were all kind of looking at each other like, what do we do? Like, do we mention it? He's not bothering anybody. No one can tell he's there. So if we bring it up, it's going to be an out of left field moment that may, throw off the show. And it's one thing if it's like, if I'm headlining a show and I'm the last comic of the night. It's another thing if you're doing a 20-minute set and then there's a bunch of other comics that are going on after you. And then it's like, oh, well, we got a pretty good thing going right now. If I do something and if I fail, I don't just fail for me, because I'll fail for me all day. I've done it many times, but I don't want to fail for somebody else and ruin their.
You don't want to derail it for, the other comics, of course.
Yeah. So nothing really happened, but we were all just kind of looking back at him like, wow, he's just here watching you're watching comedy. One that was I don't want to say derailed, but it definitely got brought up. I was on stage at the Laugh Factory. Well, I wasn't on stage. This was before the show. And they come to us and they say, hey, all the comics, they say, hey, Justin Bieber's in the crowd and he's here with Selena Gomez. They were dating at the time. And we were all like, oh, okay, that'll be interesting. And I know some of the comics that night because I have a photo from that night. It was me, Court McCowan, Eliza Schlesinger, a couple other comics. And it was, I went up on stage and I said like, hey, Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez are here. And everyone kind of like looked over and I was like, it's really cool that you guys are here, man. This is an honor. I mean, to have my comedy be seen by Hollywood's hottest lesbian couple. And, everyone kind of stopped and Bieber laughed, to his credit, and laughed, had a great time. Selena laughed. When the show was done, he called me over. I went over there, talked to him for a little bit. He's all right guy. I forget his age at the time was probably like 18 or 19. I was probably like 28, 29. It seemed like a nice enough dude. And then once everyone was done, him and Selena like invited everyone to the upper room of the Laugh Factory, and we all just kind of hung out, took some photos. And I looked at Justin, and at one time I go, hey man, any way you could just tweet out like, hey, Brad Williams is funny. Saw him tonight. Brad Williams is funny. It would literally change my life. And Justin just stopped and went, I don't have access to my Twitter. And at first I was mad. And then I thought to myself, oh no, that makes perfect sense. You're Justin Bieber. You're 18, 19 years old. You have 26 gajillion followers. You have all the followers on Twitter. You're in charge of an empire of money. Of course you're not in charge of your Twitter. You don't have access because they don't want you being drunk at 2:00 in the morning and tweeting out some just ruin you before cancel culture was a thing. You know what I mean?
I would love to see Justin Bieber's late night opinions be like, I fucking hate Arby's. Or like, or just rants about prison reform or something, even though that's Kim Kardashian's territory. But
yeah. I mean, like I said, at first I was mad about it, but then I thought, I would hate to have that much power and that much access to that many people when I was 18, 19 years old. I mean, many would argue I shouldn't even have it now. So, I totally get it.
Dude, I'd be afraid to win like fucking $100,000 and discover the real me. Like,
you do.
Yeah.
You do.
So, all right, let's get back to the beginning here, man. You and I haven't talked much about your early days because I like to save that for the podcast and all. But how long have you been doing stand-up now? I think we're kind of relatively in the same boat.
Yeah, started October of 2005. I want to say 2005, 2004. I think it was 2004. So yeah, I'm running on a good amount of time. I don't know what that is.
Were you always a stand-up fan? Like, were you a stand-up fan when you were a kid, or?
Let's see, 21 minus 5 is 16. Okay, so yeah, 16 years, 16, 17 years. That sounds about right. Yeah, I was not, I mean, I wouldn't say I was always a comedy fan. I think everyone loves to laugh. And if you don't like to laugh, you're a fucking psychopath. But
I guess I'm a psychopath.
Yeah. I was only really into comedy. Like, I really got into it in high school. I remember I saw Eddie Murphy Raw. My buddy showed me that special, and I was just like, holy shit, is this funny?
Yep.
And really, like, that got me into a bunch of stuff. And that was the time, depending on how old some of your listeners are, when Comedy Central Presents was really popular. Like, everyone, you knew Comedy Central Presents, and Comedy Central Presents, those half-hour specials, they've launched a lot of careers, whether it be Pablo Francisco, whether it be Frank Caliendo, Greg Giraldo. I mean, like, so many careers were launched from those half hours. And,
oh God, yeah, I've mentioned those on pretty much every single episode because those were so formative for me from like 16 to 20. I bought the DVDs. I watched them. That was like my favorite show in high school, probably that and Insomniac.
Yeah, and they played them like crazy. It was before the days of DVR, and whenever Comedy Central, like now, if Comedy Central doesn't have something to throw on, which is apparently 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or just whenever the South Park guys aren't working, which is a lot, they will throw on either an old episode of South Park or like old episode of Tosh.0 or maybe a movie. But back in the day, they would just run those half-hour specials all the time. And like they did like stand-up Fridays to where like pretty much all Friday it would just be a marathon of these
Greg Giraldo hosted that. That was called Stand Up Nation.
Stand Up Nation, that's what that was.
Yep. It was Greg Giraldo every Friday. They would show, I think, 4 specials. And yeah, dude, I was obsessed at the time with that kind of shit.
That really got me into it and really got me going. And then one of those specials that I really got hooked on was the Carlos Mencia special. I still remember it. He had the cartoon of himself on the side, like, because you all had, every comic got to design their own set, which was really cool, you know, so you got a little insight into some of their personalities, whether it be Mitch Hedberg that just had nothing on the stage and he just kind of had the plain thing, or you would have cartoon characters, or like somebody had a bed and then at the end of their set they went in and tucked themselves into bed. I forgot who that was.
Who did that? That was oh man, I know what you're talking about too, because I can still recall some people's backgrounds. Like Joe DeRosa had his confirmation photo, or like communion. Dom Herrera had like an Italian restaurant or like pizza place.
That's right. Yeah, somebody had a bed and then like they ended their set and then went in and tucked themselves in. It's gonna kill me. I'll definitely be Googling it once we're done here.
It wasn't Chad Daniels. Was it?
No. I don't think it was Chad Daniels. I think he came a little later, but
was it the dude like Andrew Kennedy?
Was old school, like it may have been Stephen Lynch, because Stephen Lynch had like songs.
Yeah, he was, good guitar.
Oh,
dude, I know exactly what it's bothering me too. And
we'll look it up eventually, but I remember seeing the Mencia one and then finding out that he was coming to the Brea Improv, which is right by where I lived at the time. So I got all excited. It was Father's Day weekend. I was like, cool, I'll take my dad to go see this guy. So we go see him, and during the show, Mencia starts making midget jokes. He doesn't see me. He doesn't know I'm in the audience.
Uh-huh.
And when he does that, half the audience is laughing, and the other half is by me, just not laugh, just like not laughing at all, just stone faced. And he stops and goes, "What?" He goes, "Why aren't you guys laughing? This is a funny joke." He goes, "What? Is one of them here?" And I just raised my creepy little hand in the air, like, "Yeah, what's up, dude?" And he called me up on stage. And he asked me questions, and I answered them. I was not trying to be funny. I was just being honest, and my answers got laughs. And that was the moment where I was like, "Oh, I got to do this." And
what did he ask you?
He asked me. He goes, he asked me my name, and he said, "How old are you?" And I was 19 at the time. And he goes, "All right, well, you going to school? Or you working?" And at the time, I was working, and it was summer because Father's Day is in June, and I had a summer job at Disneyland, and I go, "I work at Disneyland," and the audience laughs.
Yep.
And I yelled at them, and I went, "Fuck you! I'm not one of the 7." And they laughed at that harder, and then that was like the greatest feeling in the world. Greatest. It's just like knowing that I made people laugh, a room full of people laugh off the top of my head, in a moment like that. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fucking do this.
So this got sprung on you. You went to this comedy show as a fan to see Mencia, and then you left wanting to do stand-up. This happened just like that?
Yep. And
that's fucking wild.
Yeah. And I immediately went home, and this is because here's the thing about comedy. Like, maybe now people know how to get into it because of things like comedy podcasts that are out there, and everyone's heard everyone's origin stories and things like that. But back in that time, no one knew how to do it or how to get into it. Guys would show up to comedy clubs and be like, "Hey, I want to be a comedian." They'd be like, "Awesome. Fucking Tuesday night, open mic night, whatever the hell."
Yeah, there's 65 more of you. Get in line.
Yeah. So I found this website, and I still remember it to this day. Maybe this is your time too, and maybe you might know this website. www.chucklemonkey.com.
Yep. There was Chuckle Monkey. There was Chuckle Monkey, and then there was another one too that just had like a list of open mics, but it had them for like every single city. And I'm going back 15 years, but it was still pretty up to date. Like a new shitty one would pop up in Philly, but yet it would be on the website. So whoever ran it was like on top of their shit.
Yeah, it's funny for comedians of a certain generation. You're in my generation. Everyone knew about Chuckle Monkey, and that was not just a stand-up Bible, but specifically like an open micer Bible, because that they really targeted like, hey, trying to get into comedy, here's what you do. And so I would just look up, all right, I'm in Los Angeles, Orange County. Let's click on that area. Let's click on that state. And it listed all the open mics. You call them. Hopefully you call them before you go to see if that open mic is still up to date.
Yep,
And
did both. Showed up, and there was not a mic taking place. Been on both sides of that coin.
Yep. And just started doing open mics. I remember one time I was I did it at this Italian restaurant in LA called Marv and Mary's. And I showed up, and while I was trying to turn into the parking lot, I actually got into a car accident while trying to turn into the parking lot. My fault, misjudged the timing, got my car dinged up. And as they're taking the report, I run in, do the mic, do my 3 minutes out, and finish.
That's such a comic move.
Such a comic move. And that's one of my, like, when young comics today go, whoa, is there any pay for the gig? I'd be like, no, fuck you, no.
For those of you listening who aren't comics, that's how crazy we are. You will literally crash your car, go do a set, and then worry about it 10 minutes later because
Yep.
you have to get on stage.
Yep. I've run out of gas and like called a cab and spent more money on the cab than I made during the set. Of course, I wasn't being paid anything. I've done crazy shit like that where I drove 4 hours one time to do a 10-minute spot. And then after my spot, drove 4 hours back. I mean, every comic's got a story like that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the early mics. And I do that for about a year and a half.
Well, hold on. I'm going to cut you. Hold on one second.
Sure.
I'm going to cut you off to backtrack. So you were on stage with Mencia and you loved it and then wanted to do stand up. So what happened after that night? Did you go home and write stuff that week? Like when did you get on stage again? Okay. I'm asking you what happened right after the Mencia thing?
Okay. Right after that, I went home, started writing jokes, looking up open mics. And I found like on Chuckle Monkey, they said like pretty much the best open mic in terms of getting discovered. Because we all want that shortcut, is to do the Laugh Factory in Hollywood. So I go, cool. I'll go to the open mic first, make sure that this is somewhere I can be, because this is Hollywood. This is the Laugh Factory. They probably have some amazing comedians at the open mic night. So I go. Oh, you already know where this is going.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I go to the open mic night and just to watch, and I take two friends, and I think we made up like 75% of the audience. And like seeing these comics on stage, I'm like, oh, I could go up there right now off the dome and be funnier than these people. Like, I thought that these comics would be going with their professional sets and like they from day one, I was seeing men and women go up there and do a move that I still hate today, where you have like a 3-minute set, a 5-minute set, and you just pause. You go, what else are we going to talk about? You have 3 fucking minutes. Go.
Yeah.
Fucking, or like they have notes, like, because it's a 3-minute set.
Yeah.
And they had notes to like read off of. And I come from a theater background in high school, so I'm like, memorize your shit, go. Like you want to look like the pros. The pros don't go up there for their HBO specials and read off a notepad, unless it's like their gimmick to do that. So yeah, like I saw that open mic, I'm like, oh, I'm signing up next week. So wrote some jokes, signed up. Oh, here's one more story.
Yeah.
From when I signed up, my first day doing stand up, I'm in the line because of the Laugh Factory. You line up at like noon, you sign up, and then the show is at 4, and you just have to hang out for a few hours. And this is before phones, so some people went and got a movie, you got a snack. My move was to always, God, I'm really dating myself with this. My move was to always go to a grocery store, find the magazine rack, and just read magazines for like 3 hours.
That works. There's one right across the street, right? Wasn't there a little? Isn't there like a CVS right across from the Laugh Factory there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I would do. And then also because it's LA and the parking shit, you'd have to move your car like 3 times over those 4 hours to not get a ticket. Many an open micer found that out the hard way.
So that was your first set, like your first time as Brad Williams doing your own set was the open mic at the Laugh Factory?
Yeah. And I remember lining up and this guy was there. I think he's still an open micer. His name is Burger, not Hamburger.
Oh, I know Hamburger. I know Hamburger.
Yeah, you know Hamburger. No, his name is just Burger. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, you're new." He goes, are you trying to do stand-up? And I go, "Yeah, it's actually my first time." And he goes, "Cool. I've been doing this for 12 years. Follow my lead. Do whatever I do. You'll be fine." And I remember at the time going, "You've been an open micer for 12 years? Like, I'm doing nothing that you do."
Yeah, I'm going to watch what you do and do the opposite.
Yeah. and then of course, and he went up and had a horrible set that night. But I went up.
Of course he did.
I did my 3 minutes. Went pretty good. Got
Okay,
a couple of laughs. And I don't like at the time I would tell you I killed, but I had no frame of reference. So at the time I killed. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. And immediately went home and started looking up more open mics, signed up for more open mics.
Nice. So did you hit the pavement hard after that first set?
Yeah.
Did you just go out every night?
As much as I could. I was going to college at the time. I was a junior at the University of Southern California, USC, fight on Trojans. And so I would go to school and other kids would go out and party and drink at night. And I would drive all around Los Angeles and go to open mics. That was my thing.
Dude, that's exactly what I was doing between Philadelphia, South Jersey, and parts of Delaware. Every single night, my college roommates were drinking and shit, and I was bombing.
And
I was seeking stage time.
And now they're all out being doctors and lawyers and accountants. Look at you, Pat. You had the last laugh.
Yeah, exactly. I'm at the Indianapolis Chuckle Fuck, and
yep, do a 4 o'clock show. Yep. So yeah, I did all those open mics for about a year and a half, and I'm fully aware that a year and a half doing open mics is not a long time. I'm aware of that. So before some of your listeners write me like, you got it easy, I'm well aware. I did a year and a half of open mics. Then I found out Mencia was going back to he was going to be at the Ontario Improv, which is not Ontario, Canada. Ontario is a small city
in Orange County still.
Yeah. It's about an hour and a half away from Los Angeles, hour and a half east. So I go to that one. This time Mencia sees me before the show because I go to the late show. He sees me on the early show, where like in line or whatever. And he goes, "Hey, you're that dude. You're that dude from that night." And Brad, I go, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, I started to do comedy. After that night, I started to do stand-up comedy. He goes, "You're doing stand-up now?" I go, "Yeah, I've been doing about a year and a half, whatever." He goes, "Huh. Why don't you open up my show tonight? Let's see what you got." So I'm like, all right. And because you're not going to turn that down.
No.
So it was all open mics before that. It was coffee shops. There were times I would set up a little PA at a Starbucks and just start talking to people, whether they liked it or not. God, they probably hated me. But yeah, I would do that. And now I got a sold out Ontario Improv, which is like 400 people. So I'm like, all right, here we go. So I get a guest spot, 5 minutes. I go on after the host, go up, do my time, get some laughs. And I got off stage, and before the feature act goes up, Mencia goes on stage. And because he looked at me after I got done, and he goes, "This was you doing stand-up for about a year and a half?" I go, "Yep." And he goes, "Wait here." And he goes up on stage. Now, there's still the feature act. And Mencia goes to the audience and says, "Hey, guys, did you guys like Brad?" And everyone like clapped. It was like, "Yeah, we liked him." And he goes, "Okay, you just made a very important decision for me." It was my current feature act. He's ready. He's ready to be a headliner. He's funny. He's good. He's gonna graduate. And I need to find a new feature act. And you guys really like Brad. So from the stage, he goes, "Brad, you want to go on the road with me and be my feature?" And I'm like, "Yes."
That's incredible.
So that was the Friday night late show. I came back, did both Saturday shows, did the Sunday show. And then the next weekend, he was in Bakersfield, California at the Fox Theater, which holds about 1,300 people. And he said, "All right, come on out, do the Fox Theater." I was doing the Fox Theater for 1,300 people. It's crazy.
No shit, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a this is why one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because I knew a little bit of that story. That's really a unique way to get in this business, because you got swept in by a great person very early.
Yes. And
awesome. Then the ride began. You just got swept up with him a year and a half in, and then that was it.
Yep. And then he immediately got the TV show while I was like, he had the TV show pretty much when I got locked in with him. So he had a dwarf in his crew, so he put me on the TV show.
Whores, right?
Yeah, that one. I remember that. It's hot out here for a whore, midget whore. My tiny panooch gets real sore. Oh, only one person pays me for a trick, and I'm tired of sucking Dave Attell's dick. Yeah.
I was just going to say Dave Attell was in that sketch. I remember that 100%. 100%.
So did that. Was on the road with Mencia for about 4 years, and then graduated myself and went off and started headlining during a blizzard in Helium.
Philadelphia. Yep. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that was like 10, 11 years ago that I've been a national touring headliner for about maybe 10 to 12 years, somewhere in there.
So when Mencia took you on the road early in your career, was he doing theaters then, or mostly comedy clubs? Like, did you get swept in from open mics to theaters? Because that's a fucking weird jump too.
It was about a year of clubs, and then the first season of Mind of Mencia did gangbusters. And then after that, it was theaters. It was, in some cases, stadiums. We did the toy, and I say he sold all the tickets.
I'm guilty of that as well. Me and Tom Segura did the Hollywood Hard Rock in Florida. Well, Tom Segura did. I just happened to be there that weekend with him.
Right.
Or, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like the guy that says, like, we won the Super Bowl. I'm like, you didn't do shit.
You haven't even been to a game in 5 years. You fucking sit at home.
Yeah, exactly. But he did the Toyota Center in Houston, and that's where the Rockets play. And he did that like in the round, like it was insane. Just like, it's a basketball stadium. It's crazy. Sold out all those tickets. So, yeah.
Why Houston? Was that the only arena on the tour, or was that just like a big specific fan base there for that kind of thing?
Yeah, he always had a really strong, let's just say Southwest and Southwest fan base, and really good in Texas. And that was a place where he decided to do it, and he did it. I mean, he did another arena at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. He did that arena, and that's like where, like, I've seen Shine down there. I've seen Alice Cooper there. Like, that's where some people play. So, it was a crazy ride. And then I got out and started doing my own stuff. And I've played a few theaters. I hope to get back to that scenario soon. You and I are going to be doing a theater. We're going to be doing the fucking Wilbur.
Dude, the Wilbur, man. I love that place. That has a special place in my heart because, like I just mentioned, Segura, we did a show there years ago, and I would legitimately put that show in my top 5 of all time. Everything was just perfect that night. My parents came from Philly. They sat next to Tom Segura's dad. Like, the Foo Fighters were staying at the same hotel I was. Everything was just like crazy that night.
That's amazing. So we're gonna do the Wilbur. Now, the last time I played the Wilbur Theater was crazy because sold it out. So I hope I'm able to sell it out. In that, I hope it's like open by then, and I think
so. That's still 2 months out for. I was gonna say us for you, but it's still it's two months out.
Yeah. So hopefully, but the last time I played it, sold it out, and then the meet and greet was actually longer than the show because I do meet and greets after every show, and the show was an hour and a half, and the meet and greet was like an hour 45, 2 hours long. It was crazy. I just stood there and like people kept Like, I kept asking the staff, like, hey, how far back does this line go? They're like, it's wrapped. It goes from the lobby to wrapping around the theater, like several ails. And we're like, okay,
It's from the lobby to Sam Adams' grave.
Yeah.
Where Sam Adams is buried. He's buried up the street.
Yeah. It's not great. But yeah, so always a good time. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing theaters again. I'm in Florida right now, so it's nice to have packed clubs again.
Yeah, seriously. Are they at 100%?
They sure are.
They are? Okay. So, all right. I'm not being a Debbie Downer here, but I do love a good horror story. So there had to have been a night or two with Mencia where it just did not go well for you, right?
Oh, many nights.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about this. I mean, I say this every episode. I love comedy. I love my friends. You guys are all funny. That's why I love you. And I trust, I've seen you kill every night. We're all on the same page here. But if you tell me, oh my God, last Thursday sucked, all I want to hear about is last Thursday. because I know the other shows were great. That's fine. I know you go out on stage every night and kill. But if you tell me, oh, this one was a rough one, that's the only show I want to hear about.
Of course. And so we had, I think it was the tour after the second season of Mind of Mencia, which was once again just bonkers. Like 3 shows at the Beacon Theater in New York in a day, like just crazy, crazy numbers. On that tour, also think about this lineup. When you think about what every comic from this lineup is now doing. The first comic was his brother. I say comic very loosely. The man barely spoke a word of English. We wrote everything for him. And then sometimes he would get laughs and then he would get confident, like he was actually funny and start ad-libbing. And then he wouldn't get laughs anymore. We were like, stick to the fucking script. You're not funny. We are.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Don't waver.
Yeah. Don't go off. So he would open up. And then after his brother, Cristela Alonso would go up.
Okay.
And she's now national touring headliner.
She had a sitcom. Yep.
Yeah. NBC, like Cristela, like she's
from Texas too, right?
Writer.
Isn't she from
really
Texas?
Great writer. What's that?
Yeah, I think she's from Texas, right?
Yes. Yeah. She's from, I think, McAllen, Texas. She's got an amazing, you want to talk about an origin story. She's got an amazing origin story. Spent many a night talking and laughing with her on the road. She's fantastic. So it would go Cristela, and then it would go Joe Coy.
Yep.
Joe Coy was on that tour. And this was right after his Tonight Show set. That is one of the greatest Tonight Show sets you're ever going to see. That thing was polished. That thing was amazing. And he pretty much did an extended version of that set every night, and it fucking destroyed.
No shit.
Night. And then after Joe Coy, it was me. So I was at that point, about 6 years into comedy, 5-6 years, and I'm going on after Joe Coy and Pat. Oh, some epic bombs.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it, dude. I'm sorry, but I love it.
Oh, I remember we did a rock club in Atlanta. The whole tour did a rock club. And wow, I went on after Joe and just fucking crickets. And Atlanta, when you're bombing in Atlanta, holy shit, they do the worst thing. I don't mind if I get
shoot you.
I don't mind if I get booed. Here's what drives me nuts. People ignoring me. Atlanta, they all went, no. And they just all turned to each other, started having private conversations and
the
shit.
conversation.
And I'm just up there I practically busted out a cartwheel. I was so desperate. Just for attention. Epic bombs. But at the same time, I never had a more dramatic period of growth as a comedian than that tour, because I had to follow Joe and how great he is And so I got real funny real quick because I couldn't just rest on whatever thing I had. It was like, no, I had to be really fucking good. So
it does raise the bar. It makes you want to come out swinging harder. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely early in my career, I think I had this mindset, whether it was our show, like I think for a little while I had this mentality of like I didn't want the comic before me to do well, so I would look better. But then it dawned on me like I want to follow something awesome. So if the person in front of me crushes, I want to ride that wave and make myself do better. You know?
Yeah, no, it's totally true. And that's why places like the Comedy Cellar or the Comedy Store in Hollywood are so magical because they breed such good comedians because you have to go on after those people. You have to go on after Joey Diaz just fucking destroyed in a way that you never thought was possible. You got to follow Rogan, Burr, like you got to follow all these people. And it's great. It's the greatest comedy teaching tool and really sort of letting you know where you're at. Like, oh, you think you were hot shit because you were getting some laughs at the Helium in Philly. Okay, now we're going to put you on after Tom Segura. And now you're going to see how you do. So, yeah, it's following great comedians will absolutely make you better. And it's always amazing to me that a lot of comics will fear that. They fear following great comics because they're like, well, I'm not going to do well. It's like, but if you do, holy shit, now you're not afraid of anything.
Dude, absolutely.
Learn to do well.
Absolutely. You are you have done Preston and Steve Philadelphia radio show a million times. Dude,
radio, my favorite radio shows.
They are so good to me, man. They've done so many things for me in my career. And every Thanksgiving time they do a big comedy show. And 2 years ago I followed Attell and I was like creaming my pants over the honor. Dude, it was a blast. And I'm like literally watching Attell from the wings and thinking like, oh my God, I'm going on next. And I wasn't even nervous. I was like excited. He crushed. And then they met my energy. It's like that shit it was crazy to me that like I've opened for Attell a million times, but I watched him knowing I'm going on next.
Yep. And you ride that wave. And then now you've got that knowledge that you followed one of the greatest living comedians. And so any sort of situation that's put on in front of you, like a drunk 4:30 Indianapolis crowd, you're like, I got this.
I tell people about that show, about our 4:00 indie show. Like, it's just so crazy. They were Saturday late show wasted, but light years. It was incredible, but they were a good crowd.
Yeah. And that was our first of 3 shows. So when that happened, we're like, oh, we're going to have to do this 2 more times.
This is going to be a long day.
Yep.
Of all the shows we did together this year, the only one that I don't think I cared for was where the hell was it? I'm blanking. St. Louis was incredible. All 5 shows in St. Louis were ridiculous.
They were great.
Man, I'm totally blanking. And normally I'm good with this kind of stuff too, because I kind of remember everything. All the Philly shows were good. Did we have
Holy shit, Pat. I just remembered who curled up in bed.
Oh, yes.
Dat Fan.
Okay. And now that you say it, I can totally see it.
It was Dat Fan.
He's still out there too, right?
What's that?
He's still out there too, right? Doing stand-up?
You know what? Let's find out right now. Let's look up datfan.com.
Dude, you're absolutely right. It was him because he got that presents right after he won the season 1 of Last Comic Standing.
Yep. And he got back. He curled up in the bed. Oh my God. Okay. Well, first of all, he looks way different now. I mean, of course you do. It's 10 years later. All right. datfan.com. Comedian actor. DatFan tour. Here we fucking go. Events from May 7th. Oh, no events found. No.
Oh, I'm glad. You know what? I forgot about that. I forgot that we talked about this earlier, but if you didn't say that, I would have remembered this later and then had to go down my own rabbit hole to like figure it out.
Yeah. All right, now I'm looking up his Twitter because maybe he's got. Does he not have a Twitter? Wow, Dat Fan on Twitter is experimenter of art, design, and technology, physical world enthusiast. I don't think that's our Dat Fan.
Do you know him at all?
No, I don't. I would like to.
I was going to say me neither. And I haven't even thought about him in years, but I'm like, I wonder if he would be a good podcast guest because he's had a weird career. He had a lot of success from that from Last Comic Standing, and then nothing, I guess.
And then that. So I mean, if he's willing to talk about it, I mean, if you want to talk about like you always say, the bombs are the ones. I mean, but here's the thing. I'm only interested in the bombs if I know you're doing okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you've recovered, like, okay, if Sebastian Maniscalco wants to tell me about one time that he bombed horribly or that he was running back and forth from his waitress or waiter job to do sets at the Comedy Store. Yeah, I want to know about that because he's doing okay. He bounced back just fine. But like, I don't want to find out that guy in line of my open mic burger is like, I don't want to hear his bombs.
No, because that's all he has. That's all he has. Like,
so I only want to hear bomb stories if I know the comedian's doing okay. And that's why it's really great about your friends doing it, because you know how your friends are doing. And
of course. And then and then you bust each other's balls. And I mean, we're all in the same boat. There's something so entertaining about watching your friend suffer. Like if you're in the showroom watching your friend eat it, like it's the fucking best. You can't help but smile and laugh.
Well, and one of the reasons why, for those people out there that might be listening to this going, you monsters, here's one of the reasons why. It's the same reason why everyone in America likes to watch a story about a wealthy, famous, successful person crash and burn, why we all take a little bit of schadenfreude in that. It's because when you watch a great comic bomb, it just makes you as a comedian feel better because it's like, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
That happens to everybody. Because when you have a bad set, when you bomb, there's part of you that thinks, oh, well, fucking Seinfeld never bombs. And then you go and you watch Seinfeld bomb. You're like, oh, it's this great equalizer where you know that no one is above bombing. Everyone's gone through it. Everyone will continue to go through it. Like, I know that my bombing days are not done. My next bomb is right around the corner, and it'll pop up it'll happen. And
it's humbling. It's humbling.
It's humbling, and it's like it's a weird, comforting thing to know that, like, so if you're out there playing street ball, you watch LeBron James and go, that's different. I can't do that. What he's doing, I can't do, and he experiences a completely different life than I experience. But there's something truly great about stand-up comedy to where no matter how high you are or low you are on the totem pole, it's all the same thing. It's all just going on stage in front of a crowd and throwing your jokes out there. Maybe they'll do well, maybe they won't. And if they don't do well, you're going to have to live with that. You're going to have to adjust to it. And there's no secret way that rich, famous comedians get better at stand-up. There's just, you got to go up on stage. In fact, it's almost harder to be a good stand-up if you're rich and famous, because then you have more projects going on and more things that take your time away from stand-up. I often tell people, if you want to go see a great comedy show, don't find the name that you recognize, because that person's very busy and they may not be putting as much time into stand-up as they should be. Find the name you don't recognize, because that person's there because they're funny, not because they have a movie or a show or a bunch of followers on TikTok or whatever. Like they're there because they're funny. So
it's a great way to put it.
That's my advice to people until I become one of those people, and then fuck them, go see my show.
Dude, thank you so much for joining me, man. This was great. I loved hearing about your early days, and and shooting the shit, man. We've had a lot of good shows this year, and we got some more to come. So thanks, dude.
Yeah, it's always good, and we'll shoot the shit more in the car on the car rides on the way up and down this great land of ours.
Yeah, maybe we'll record a bonus episode in the car. It could be like 75% talking comedy, 25% road rage.
Oh, so okay. I don't know if this story is going to translate on podcast, but I have to tell it only because it happened literally today.
By all means.
So you talk about with another comic and just shit, and you talk shit and things happen. Like I said, I don't know if this will translate, but I promise every word of this story is true. I don't think I could say it on stage because I don't think the audience would believe that this actually happened. So I'm in Florida right now. I'm in Naples, Florida. My opening act is a comedian out of Orlando. It's really great. His name is Mike Berlehy. Good guy. I've known him for years. So we're coming back from a diner. We had breakfast this morning at a diner. And we see a guy, as we're pulling up to a light, we see a guy in a pickup truck. This guy's in the far right lane and it's a right turn only. Apparently he realized that he isn't supposed to turn to the right. He wants to go straight. So he flips his truck in reverse, hauls ass backwards, straight backwards on a one-way highway, goes between 50 and 60 yards, not a little bit back, really far back.
That's back.
Like going far backwards, and then maneuvers the wheel, cuts into the middle lanes, and now he's facing forward. Right then, already a pretty amazing maneuver and something to witness. We pull up behind him, and Mike notices that this guy has a bumper sticker on his truck. The bumper sticker, and this is very real. The bumper sticker says, "Stay in your lane, bitch."
Wow. It translated.
It says,
dude, that's really funny.
Oh my God.
I mean, the irony of all this.
Sweet irony. And the fact that it has a bitch on the end of that just is the chef's kiss.
That's really funny.
I don't know how to put that on stage yet. Maybe I'll figure it out. It literally happened today, but man.
Are you going to try tonight?
I may, because it's one of those things where you say it on stage, and I don't know if the audience will they'll be like, "There's no way that actually happened. There's no way." But I promise you it did.
I feel like audiences are more inclined to believe that if you did that off the top, because you'd be like, "Oh my God, me and the other comic had breakfast this morning," and then people are like, "Oh, okay, this is real. Why would you make that up?"
Yeah, I'll try it. I'll see if it works. And we'll go on from there. And when I do the follow-up episode, I'll conclude the story and tell you how the joke went.
It'd be great if I bought that bumper sticker and put it on my car and just see how long it took you to notice.
Oh my God. That'd be that'd be the long con, and I'm totally all right with it. I'm down for that kind of stuff.
Awesome, dude. All right, dude. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it. And I had a blast talking to you. We have some shows coming up. We are in Connecticut, Boston, and Rhode Island together. And then also the Stress Factory in Connecticut as well.
Yep. So go to bradwilliamscomedy.com. All the tour dates are there, and just find the cities that Pat just mentioned. And then you can buy tickets to one of those shows to see the great Pat House on stage. And and I'll be there too.
See us, our shows, our shows.
we will sell out venues, so no problem. Dude, sincerely, everyone's got a podcast. I don't have to do a lot of people's podcasts who ask me, but I want to do yours because you're a friend, you're a great comic, and I always just want to hang out and talk shop, and it's always fun.
Thanks, man. Dude, we've had a lot of good shows together. We got plenty more to come this year. So everybody everywhere, come check us out. Thanks, dude.
Sounds great. Thanks, Pat.